Suspect accused of killing and dismembering his 90-year-old grandmother and their 87-year-old landlord was supposed to be in Utica City Court today, but he never made it out of the United County Correctional Facility. News Channel 2's Jolene Ferris joining us now live here to tell us why and to tell us what's next in this case. Jolene.
Thanks, Don. At his arraignment last night, Nathan Aubain proclaimed that he killed and chopped up his grandmother and landlord in the name of Jesus Christ. He was so combative he had to be strapped into a restraint chair. Today, some of that same combative behavior with some new twists prevented Aubain from going to court at all.
No fewer than 8 police officers, including members of the Oneida County Sheriff's Emergency Response or CERT team, accompanied double murder suspect Nathan Aubain into his arraignment at the Oneida County Correctional Facility last night. The same behavior that warranted such a strong security presence prevented Aubain from even leaving the jail today for his court appearance in Utica City Court.
It's challenging for us, obviously, when we have inmates who are extremely uncooperative, who will spit at anyone that gets in their way.
Spitting. That's why Aubain is wearing a neck cap. Today at the jail, the sheriff says the combative behavior continued.
His refusal to use the bathroom facilities in his cell have caused him to just be in a condition that you wouldn't want him being out in a courtroom setting at the moment.
In Utica City Court today, they set a new February 11th date. That's when they hope to have the results of a psychiatric evaluation of Aubain that was ordered last night at his arraignment, and when it should be known if Aubain is mentally fit to stand trial for the murder of his grandmother and his landlord.
A felony hearing won't be scheduled until after the results of that psychiatric evaluation are received, so nothing should happen with this case until February 11th. Don.
All right, Jolene. And moments after Aubain crashed his car on Bleecker Street, a viewer actually captured this incident on his cell phone. The video was sent to us by Dom Azarito, and police confirmed to us that the man with his shirt off is Nathan Aubain. You can see he tries to get into a home in that area, but the residents inside try to keep the door closed to keep him out. Seconds later, police officers and firefighters tackle and restrain him to the ground. Right now we're being joined by former Oneida County District Attorney Michael Arcuri to talk more about this case. So we're talking about possibly an insanity defense here?
It seems like that. Now there's sort of two criteria that are used. The first one is there'll be an evaluation made after the psychiatric reports are done as to whether or not he is incapacitated. That is he able to assist in his own defense? If the judge determines that he's not able to assist in his own defense, the trial will be put off for some time. When it gets to the point where there's a determination made that he is capable, at that point, I suspect a defense will be raised, what we call an affirmative defense, by the defense saying that he is not able to essentially not understand the nature and consequence of his actions.
And Jolene's joining us here too to ask more questions.
So if they do go that route, sort of like the burden of proof shifts a little, because in a normal criminal trial, burden of proof is completely on the prosecution. I mean, the defense doesn't even have to call any witnesses, but in this case, it's an affirmative defense, so they kind of have to prove that not responsible by reason of mental disease or defect.
Yes, that's exactly right, Jolene. So normally in a trial, the defense does not have to do anything. They don't have to call a witness, but if they are raising that affirmative defense, and they have to say that right at the beginning, they have to, what we call pleaded in their motion papers, raise the affirmative defense, then after the prosecution completes their case, they rest. The defense then begins its case to prove its affirmative defense. Now, there is one interesting note in this. The prosecution's burden of proof is beyond a reasonable doubt, and we think of that somewhere here. The burden of proof on the affirmative defense is a preponderance of the evidence, which is a lower standard of proof. So it's a little different, and that would be the same as, let's say, a self-defense. The insanity defense would be exactly the same thing.
I see a lot of people on social media saying that, if he does, if they do use insanity here as a defense, he's getting off easy. But really, that's not the case. It's still, he would still be incarcerated in some form or fashion, probably, right?
And theoretically, if the jury made a determination that he was insane, that is, that he did not understand the nature and consequence of his actions at the time he committed. So in other words, he didn't understand that by pointing a gun and firing at a person would die. I mean, that's essentially the evaluation. If the jury determined that that was the case, he would be placed with the state, and essentially no time would ever be set. So he could spend the entire rest of his life, 50 or 60 years, there if he continues to remain insane, or it could be a shorter time.
I was going to say they're reevaluated, so I mean he could get out, or one could get out conceivably in 3 years or 4 years.
Theoretically, but the prosecution also has the ability to come forward if they find out that the person is going to be released. The district attorney could come forward and make an argument as to why they think the person should continue to be incarcerated.
Now, that was going to be kind
Well,
of...
excuse me, I said incarcerated. That is not incarcerated, but remain with the department.
Yes.
Yes.
That kind of goes to my next question. So how long is this delay process? So he's not capable of understanding and being able to aid in his defense. Does it keep getting delayed, or how does that work?
Yes. Usually it's about 6 months, and the court will recall it and make a determination. But we've seen a number of cases, certainly when I was DA, where a year and a half went by until the person was deemed to be able to assist his attorney in a meaningful defense.
So they're reevaluated periodically.
That's
just depends
correct.
on the findings.
Exactly.
All right, former district attorney for Oneida County, Mike Larcurie, joining us. A lot of good insight. Thank you so much for coming on the
You're welcome.
program
Thank you.
tonight.